The Government of Ireland Act 1920 was designed to solve the Irish problem but satisfied no single party in Ireland. How far do you agree with this statement? Structure and context. Two Home Rule Parliaments, Belfast and Dublin, never materialised due to elections. A six-county Northern Ireland, making partition very likely to be permanent. Council of Ireland gave facility for unity between North and South but had few powers and never actually met. Fooled people into thinking they were splitting Ireland for good. Walter Long chaired the negotiations and as the ex-Irish Unionist leader ensured a settlement in favour of Unionists. War of Independence set the background to the Act, passed in December 1920 at the height of the war. Bloody Sunday happened in November 1920 and the Act came into force in May 1921. Sinn Féin, never satisfactory, demanded a 32-county republic. Home rule was not enough for Sinn Féin, let alone home rule with partition. 1918 elections. After the events of the Easter Rising and World War I, home rule fell far short of the independence most of the Irish people wanted, hence the IPP lost the election. Sinn Féin therefore represented the broad mass of the Irish people. Second deal. Sinn Féin used the elections for the Southern Parliament May 1921 to elect a second deal, should Government of Ireland Act was unworkable in 26 counties. IPP almost wiped out in the 1918 elections but still did not support the Act. Redmond had rejected this partition. At Buckingham Palace Conference of 1914 and the Lloyd George Talks of 1916, Redmond had already rejected a six-county permanent Northern Ireland. John Dillon, new IPP leader, was much less moderate than Redmond, who died in March 1918, retired after defeat in December 1918 elections. Captain Redmond, son of John, replaced him as MP for Watford. Quote, "The partition proposed was never agreed in another bill. The Ulster Unionists are carving out this territory where they will reign supreme evermore." Joe Devlin represented Northern Nationalism as MP for West Belfast. IPP got some support in Ulster as Sinn Féin absenteeism from Westminster meant that the IPP were the only nationalist party involved in the Parliament where partition would be decided. Devlin continually spoke out against the Act. Quote, "We would have got a far better bill 30 years ago." Southern Unionists realised that partition was the worst case scenario for their position. It would place them in an even greater minority within a mostly nationalist Southern Parliament. Cooperation with IPP. In an effort to get an all-Ireland solution, Middleton, Southern Unionist leader, worked with the IPP at, for example, the Irish Convention 1917. Promoted Sinn Féin. Both Southern Unionists and the IPP did not like the Act as it promoted partition and Sinn Féin. The elections to the Southern Parliament was another opportunity for Sinn Féin to prove its popularity. Ulster Unionists, the only party that sought benefit in the Act, but they were hardly united in this feeling. Carson, pragmatic, had hoped to break Home Rule by proving that it was unworkable in Ulster as he believed, quote, "Without Ulster, Home Rule is dead." However, by 1914 he had realised that partition was realistic, best he could get for the Irish Unionists, hence the letter to Bonar Law recommending a clean cut of 6 counties. Through partition he could save many Unionists from a Dublin Parliament. Craig, most satisfied as he won all concessions he wanted and conceded nothing. The Ulster Unionists were needed to work this Act, so if they didn't work it, it would be scrapped. Craig was satisfied with. Belfast Parliament. Ulster Unionists surprised the Great British Government by favouring a Home Rule Parliament in Belfast rather than maintaining rule from London. Craig saw the Parliament as helping to prevent interference from British politicians, as Ulster Unionists were becoming increasingly sceptical about the Conservative Allies and gave security against the nationalist minority. 6 knocked 9 counties in Northern Ireland. Craig admitted that, quote, "We cannot hold 9 counties," and argued strongly for a 6-county block. He won this argument against fierce opposition in the Ulster Unionist Council, particularly from Unionists from Cavan, Monaghan and Donegal. These 3-county Unionists that were left to be outside Northern Ireland argued that a 6-county Northern Ireland would be a bad parliament with such a big Unionist majority, and that it was against economy and geographic history. Ulster Senate rendered powerless. The upper house of Parliament in early drafts of the Act was supposed to have an inbuilt protection for the nationalist minority, but Craig managed to have the Senate simply mirror the lower house. PR in local elections scrapped. Proportional representations in local elections allowed for nationalist minority to be fairly represented, but Craig managed to have it written into the Act that PR could be removed after 3 years by the Belfast Parliament, PR was abolished at the earliest opportunity. Ineffective Council of Ireland. This technically had the power to unite the two Irish parliaments, but it needed the agreement of both sides, effectively giving the Unionists a veto on unity. Joe Lee stated, Craig used his influence to clip the wings of the council. Conclusion. The Government of Ireland Act was not a serious attempt at dealing with the Irish question, as it did nothing to satisfy Irish nationalists. However, the Act did, for the time being at least, deal with the Ulster question. Most Ulster Unionists realised that this was the best deal they could get, and were grateful that they were not forced under a Dublin Parliament. This allowed the British government the space to deal with South separately without the interference of Ulster Unionists. As Joe Devlin noted when Lloyd George introduced the bill, he, quote, never once mentioned Ireland. It was to satisfy American Labour world opinion, and was the price paid to Carson.